Hello guys, welcome back to this series on C++ program. In this video, we will learn together the C++ variables. So, let's start. So, what is variables? They are containers for storing data values. So, if you want to store some values, you have to store it inside a variable. In C++, there are different types of variables defined with different keywords, for sure. For example, we have integer. If you want to store numbers without decimals, you have to use int for integer. For example, 1, 2, 3 numbers, negative or positive number for sure. We have float or double. It stores floating point numbers with decimal, such as, for example, 90.99 or minus 1999. The difference between float and double: float will take 4 bytes in the memory of your computer, but double take 8 bytes. Char, it stores single characters, just one letter, for example, A or B. If you want to store a text, a sentences, you have to use string type. And the last one, bool, for Boolean, stores values with 2 states. We have true or false. For sure, in this video, we will see with detail each type of these data types. So, in computer memory, for each variable, we have the type, the name, and the value. For example, here, the type we have integer, the name number 1, the value 10. Another variables, for example, the type is char, the name, for example, is name. You can give also the name, and the value is A. Each time this value will be updated, this table also must be updated. So now let's go to start doing some practice together for variables in C++. Before using a variable, you have to declare this variable. So there is a special syntax how to declare this variable. We have the syntax, we have type, we have the variable name, and we have equal to the value. As you can see here, I wrote the syntax as comment. So the compiler will not execute this line. It's just to explain. If you don't know about comment in C++, please, you can check this video here. You can find the link here in which you can understand very well what is the comment and how to use them. Now, for example, let's declare our first variable. We have here integer, and for example, the variable name, we have for example, my number, for example, it's just a name, and we have, for example, equal to 50. So the type here we have integer, the variable name is my number, and the value is 50. Now, what I want to do, I want to write the value of this variable on the screen. So from the previous video, we know already that to write a message on the screen, we use the function seout, and we have to write the variable name, my number. So now let's execute together and see the result. As you can see here, the result is 15. So if you want to write on the screen the value inside a variable, you will just use the function seout my number, it's equal to 15. Now let's change, for example, this value 20. For example, you will see that the value on the screen will be also changed. So we have it's 20. Now we can also declare a variable without assigning a value and assigning this value later. For example, here we have, let's take this code command. We will use another one. For example, here int my number, and after we will write my number, it's equal to, for example, 30. Now let's execute together. We have the value is 30. So it's the same. If you want to declare the variable and give the value in the same line, or declare the variables and after give the value after. It's the same. If you want to assign a new value to an existing variable, it's so simple also. For example, here we have int my numbers equal to 30. I wrote on the screen my number. Now I want to change the value of my number. For example, here I have my number. It will be, for example, 40. After changing this value, I have to write again on the screen to check if the value has been changed or not. So I have here 30 and after 40. As you can see, the value inside my number variable is changed. So, as I said, if you want to change the variable's value, you will just write my number, the name value and the new value. Now let's use another types. Let's take all this code as command to write a new code. Now let's try another types. For example, we have here double number 1. It's equal to, for example, 5.6. And I have char my letter. It's equal to, for example, A. As you can see here, when I use char, the letter must be between apostrophe. Also, for example, string, if I want to write a word, text, it's equal to double apostrophe, and I have, for example, hello. Also, another type, for example, bool, my bool, it's equal to true. Boolean can just take true or false. Now let's write on the screen those variables. So we have here cout number 1. We have here cout for my letter. Cout text, and cout my bool. So let's execute together. As you can see here, 5.6 A, hello, and I have 1. So here the Boolean is true. For the Boolean type, true it's 1 and false it's 0. That's why we got 1 as result. Now, for example, if I want to combine text and the value inside the variable, how can we do? We will just come here, cout. Here, let me write here a text, a message. For example, here, then the value inside number is number 1. Also, let me write here the value inside my letter is my letter. Let's execute now. Let me delete those code. We will just try with 2. You can see here the value inside number 1 is 5.6. The value inside my letter is A. So if you want to combine text and value inside the variable, you have to add this special syntax. To declare more than one variable of the same type, we can use a comma as separated in this list. So here, for example, we have int x is equal to 5. We add comma. Y is equal to 6, another comma, and we have, for example, 8 is equal to 4, and we finish by semicolon. Now, cout x, y, and a. So, We can do the declaration of variable in the same line, but it must be with the same type. Now let's execute and see the result. So we have 5, 6, and 4. So the variable subject is very important because you are going to use this subject everywhere in every lesson and in every code. So please be sure that you understand this subject very well. Now, for example, I want to say out to do the sum of those variables. We can do plus y plus a. We can display the sum of those variables. So here we have 5, 6, 4, and 15. So here we have say out x, y, and a. We have this say out, and after we have say out the sum of those variables. Another detail in variables, you can also assign one value to multiple variables. So here we have our variables int x, y, and a. Now we want to assign the same value to those variables. For example, x is equal to I equal to a and equal, for example, to 5. Let's see the result. As you can see here, say out x, y, and I, we have 5, 5, 5, and the sum of those three variables, it's 15. As you can see here, from the previous example, you notify that for each variable we have a name. So all C++ variable must be identified with unique name. We cannot, for example, here use 2 times x. We will get an error because variable name must be unique. You cannot use the same variable name for 2 different variables. So these unique names are called identifiers or name. Identifiers can be short name like, for example, x, y, a, or more descriptive names like, for example, in the previous examples we used number 1, my letter. So it's recommended to use descriptive name in order to create understandable and meaningful our code. For example, here let me take another example. We have int x and we have here int number. So number here is the name of this variable, and here we have x. All those names are acceptable by the compiler, but it's better to use meaningful name. The name can contain letter, digit, or underscore. For example, I can write int number 1 or int underscore number 1. It's not a problem. Name must begin with a letter or an underscore. We cannot start with, for example, 1 like that. We cannot start by 1 number. It's not acceptable. The first letter of the variable must be a letter or underscore. Name are case sensitive for uppercase and lowercase. For example, int number, and here int number with capital letter. Those are 2 different letters. So you have to be careful for the uppercase and lowercase. Also, names cannot contain white space. For example, I cannot do number space 1. No, it must be related number 1. And there is some special keyword for C++ that cannot be a name of variables. For example, I cannot say string int. So I cannot use this keyword for a variable name. We will learn step by step those keywords when we will be advanced in this course. So I hope you understand the subject of the variables. Please, if you have any question or comment, leave us a comment, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified for next video. Thank you so much.